Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at a really exciting new product from OnePlus. So the OnePlus 13. It's just been released. I picked it up last week and I've been trying it out over the past week or so. And I'm really excited to share my thoughts on this with you as it's a great phone just to start off with. It's got a great new design. It's a really stunning design with a lovely vegan leather back. I picked up the midnight blue version, which we'll talk about later, and it's really, really nicely finished. It's got a great, I love the fact it's got a non-glass back. It makes it feel much easier to hold in your hand. So stay tuned. We'll dive into all the details later on. The model I have here is the 16 gigabytes of RAM one with the 512 gigabytes of storage. It is available in another model as well. I'll talk about that later on. So let's find out if this is the phone of 2025 to buy, and can it possibly compete with the Samsung S25 that's coming out in a few weeks' time, and also can it compete with the Honor Magic 7, which I've also picked up. So we'll talk about all this in the review, and we'll get right into it now. And thank you for watching, and please do subscribe if you like my channel. So firstly, in this video, let's get into the design of the OnePlus 13, because I think that's where it really shows off its features. And it's the first thing you noticed during the unboxing, and its new aesthetic. It gives it a great feel in your hand. It has some fantastically designed features. Like, I love how light it is. Like, it just makes, we used to have flagship phones being heavy, and Samsung and Apple changed all that by moving to titanium. A lot of manufacturers still use aluminium. I think aluminium's absolutely fine to use. It's nice and light. It gives a great, durable, premium feel, and I really like the transition to a vegan leather back here, as mentioned. I think it feels really grippy in your hand. It doesn't feel like you're going to drop the phone. Actually, I've started to think I can use these sorts of phones caseless now, because this is IP69 rated, so it's really tough rated. You can put it through a car wash. I've seen people put it through a dishwasher, and it feels like it can withstand the up to that kind of power of water, and also it feels like it won't scratch very easily. OnePlus install it with a pre-installed screen protector on it, which is a really nice feature to have. It gives you a bit more confidence to use it without a case. So I have used it caseless for a few days and not felt any issues with it at all, even when I was in the snow. So it's Gorilla Glass Victus, which is a really strong glass which should stand up to the daily life. It does scratch ultimately up to about the level 6 on the hardness scale, so it's not as good as some of the other glass manufacturers out there, but the fact it's got a nice pre-installed screen protector means that you're not going to have a problem with it, really. So I particularly like the design of the buttons. Everything's placed really nicely. You've got a nice rocker switch on the side here which can mute the phone and unmute it. I think it just adds it feels premium when you touch the button as well. And you've got your usual volume switch on the side. They're just nicely placed, so you can hold it one-handed and feel like you're not going to drop the phone. You can use it. It's not like it's a big phone. It's a 6.8-inch screen, but it feels relatively easy to use one-handed, which I really like about this phone. Something I first noticed. So I like the slim profile as well, and the curves on the back, and it's just an enjoyment to use and hold. First thing I noticed when I unbox it. And it's got the nice Hasselblad camera logo next to the cameras, which just adds to that premium feel on this phone. So we'll now gone over the design and build quality. We'll get into the display and what that's like to use. So OnePlus have done a great job with the display. So I've tried out the Oppo X8 Pro, which is like their sister company, and it has a very similar display to that. So it's a full OLED display. It's full HD display with it's got a really high pixel count, so it's really, really good quality. It's got great colors. It supports Dolby Vision. It supports Dolby Vision, I think HDR10 as well. And the videos, like if you try a video on Netflix or on YouTube in HDR, it looks stunning. Honestly, it looks great. Well, it looks better than the iPhone 16, I think, in terms of its screen. So the vibrant colors, deep blacks, as we expect from OLEDs. So it's great for watching movies on, playing games, browsing the web. And gaming is one of those things that we'll talk about later when we get on to performance, because it's got the new Snapdragon Elite chip in it. It's the first phone I've tried with the Snapdragon Elite chip in it. I've also tried the Honor Magic 7, which I've got hold of now with the same CPU in it. And overall, I'm very impressed with this new chip, but it doesn't feel to me like a huge step up in performance from the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. It just feels more like an iterative upgrade rather than like a massive upgrade. But obviously I'll do more testing, and I know Benchmark, which we don't do on this channel, have shown that it is a lot faster. But in real world use, which I've been using it in, you won't notice much of a difference, because my main daily phone I'm using at the moment is the Honor Magic V3, because I love that phone. I love the foldable design, and I love the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in that phone. It feels great. So Don't worry if you've got an older phone with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in it. It is not out of date at all. This is just the next step up in their CPU lineup, and it is great. Performance-wise, no problems at all. In fact, the graphics feel really good. The Oxygen, we'll talk about the software later on, but the OS feels really nice to move the graphics around and anything like that. So no worries there. It also has Aqua Touch on the screen, which means if the screen gets wet, you can still use it or try to use it with your hands and through gloves. And I tried that and it does work. It works really well. So the iPhone doesn't do that. So I think these manufacturers are thinking of all these clever ideas which Apple aren't doing. And it's just nice to see that you've got other options other than buying an iPhone. So let's move on and talk about performance on this phone, because this is the main selling point of buying the 13. So they do two models. They do the OnePlus 13 and OnePlus 13R. So I've picked up both. I've been trying both out the past few weeks. I will put a review on the OnePlus 13R as well. I think there is a reasonable difference, not maybe necessarily in terms of performance, but in terms of how the phones work, the cameras, and you do notice there's a couple of £100 difference in the price, and you do notice it between the 13R and the 13, but they are both great phones in their own right. So I don't want to say they're not, because they are. So under the hood on this is the 512 gigabytes model with 16 gigabytes of RAM. It does come in a 12 gigabyte model and 256 gigabytes of RAM. 256 gigabytes of hard drive space, but this is the only one available at the moment in the UK, because the other one is not for sale. I think it's on offer, so they're just selling this for the same price. So I paid about £700 for this with a free pair of OnePlus Buds Pro 3, which are really good. They're designed by Dyna Audio. Full review coming on those soon, so stay tuned for that. And they are definitely worth checking out. They are one of the first pairs of earbuds with a tweeter and a woofer separately in them, so the quality is really good. It does sound like a Dyna Audio speaker in a way. So I think if you're buying this phone as a top of the range flagship, it is excellent value for money, because you're looking at £700 or it's £900 full list price, and you get three very good quality cameras on it. You get a really good display. You get the top of the range Snapdragon Elite chipset, and you get 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. So if you think about when the Samsung S25 comes out, it's going to be over £1,000. Think about the iPhone 16 Pro Max for a 512 gigabyte model. You're looking at £1,400. These are all £500 or £600 cheap, more expensive than this phone. This phone offers excellent value for money, really, for the performance you're getting. So please do check it out. And if you're an iPhone user, do not be frightened to move over to Android. I love Android. I also love iOS, but I do love Android. I can show you a video on how to move over to it. It's really easy. It's not hard at all. And you can still use, you can move your iCloud photos to Google Photos and use it all fine. So let's get into the camera system and find out what I thought about that after my daily use of the cameras. So let's talk about now the megapixel rating on the cameras. So they're all three cameras are 50 megapixel on the back, and then I think it's 24, 32 on the front. And the 50 megapixel cameras on the back are very similar to the Oppo's on the Oppo X8 Pro, but I think this is I think the Oppo has the edge still in quality. I'll show you some shots side by side to let you make your own decisions on it, but this is pretty good still. Takes some great photos and haven't really got any major complaints at all. I do miss having the fourth camera, which is a shame because Oppo has 4 cameras, and it is nice to have the optical 6x zoom, which you miss over the digital one. But this is meant to go into 100 times, which I'll show you an example of on the photos, and it does work quite well. The AI processing works really well, so if you want to zoom in that far, then you can, but the Honor with its 200 megapixel super zoom could beat this, and I will hopefully getting that tomorrow or the day after, so I'll let you know how that goes when I get hold of it. So the OnePlus camera system, they are in partnership with Hasselblad, just like the Oppo X8 Pro, which I have here. I think the Oppo X8 Pro, just to start off with, has the slightly better cameras than the OnePlus 13, but it is a more expensive phone. This is a £1,000 phone. This is an £800 phone. So don't think that I'm slating the phone. I'm not. So they're both part of the same group of companies. Reason why I think it's better. So this has got a triple camera setup on it. So you've got 3 50 megapixel cameras, all with optical image stabilization on it. So you've got a ultra wide, a wide shot one, and a 3 times telephoto zoom, 3.5 times telephoto zoom, which then can AI zoom into 100 times, and actually the quality of the pictures you get at 100 times are really good. I was really impressed by this because I've tried this out on a few other manufacturers' phones, and I know Samsung tried it out a few years ago and they never could get it right. So it actually works pretty well. The Honor Magic 7 with its 200 megapixel zoom works better, but this works pretty well as well. I'll show you some shots on the zoom. It actually looks quite good. So you've got lots of features on the cameras. You've got Pro mode, which you can properly adjust all the settings on it. You've got night mode as expected. You've got a really good portrait mode with lots of Hasselblad filters on it, and it just works really well. The camera. It does come with a built-in default like band of Hasselblad on the bottom of the picture, which you can turn off. And I would recommend you turn this off because it gets a bit over the top after a while. But it's good for marketing for OnePlus and for Hasselblad. So I think, whether you're taking a landscape picture or a close-up portrait or anything like that, this phone is ideal for both. And it has a nice 32 megapixel camera on the front as well. And I'll show you some shots I filmed of me in 4K 60 HDR out and about and this in the Yorkshire countryside on this phone doing filming, and it looks great. So I think it's one of the best front cameras on a phone I've tried. It's much better than the iPhone's camera, and I think it's easily as good as the Pixel's camera, if not a bit better, from my memory of that. I've not used it for a while. So I think, as I've mentioned, the Oppo X8 Pro still pips on the camera side of things because it's got the 4 lenses and the 6 times the zoom, which I love having. And the quality on the optical zoom is always better than the AI zoom. But the AI is getting so much better now, and it really does work on this OnePlus 13. So let's get into, we've gone over the cameras. I will show you some shots on the cameras, and let's talk about video. We've not talked about video performance. So it goes up to 8K, this one, 8K 30 I think it might be in HDR or not, but it's great to see that the Snapdragon Elite CPU can support 8K. Obviously, most people don't have an 8K TV, so if you've got an 8K monitor, you can play it back. I did shoot some 8K video. I didn't, because I've not got an 8K display, I couldn't really show any major difference in quality, but you can take still shots from it in high resolution. But the 4K 60 on this was really good. I have no problems with it. It's as easily as good as the Oppo and as good as other 4K 60 phones like the Honor have used, and maybe a bit better. So all 3 lenses are Dolby Vision 4K 60 supported, which is really nice to have. And it's a great video phone. It's a great content creator's phone because you've got that great front camera, and also the back cameras are really good. So I'll show you some video shots, and I was really impressed with it overall for the video performance. So let's move on to battery and charging. So one area I've always been worried about with smartphones is my battery life, because look at the iPhone. The iPhone doesn't actually have that great a battery life, especially the iPhone 15 wasn't that great. The iPhone 14 was even worse, and the iPhone 16 is okay. It's a bit better, but it's not. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is quite good with its larger battery, but the iPhone 16 Pro, which I've got, isn't fantastic. So OnePlus 13 OnePlus have put into this phone a 6,000 milliamp battery, which is a silicon carbon battery, new technology, and it lasts ages. I can go 2 days with this phone, heavy use, and it will keep going, which is really nice to have because it's a really nice feature if you're out and about. You don't have to keep worrying about charging it up. The Oppo also has about the same sort of battery capacity. The OnePlus is a little bit better in terms of battery capacity, I think, than the Oppo, but I've not, both phones offer great battery life. So I think the OnePlus is one of the best battery life phones I've tried. The Honor Magic 7 has a slightly smaller battery in it, but I'm still getting a day's use out of that, so it's not quite as good as the OnePlus 13. So if you're looking for a flagship phone with a really good battery, this is it. In terms of charging, so this is 100-watt charging on this, which is amazing. So I've got a 200-watt charger here, plugged it in, it comes straight up with 100-watt charging. I've got a full battery in about 30 to 20 minutes. It's great. Compared to the iPhone seems so slow at 20 watts. Even the Pixel at 36 watts seems slow compared to these phones. And then you've got 50 watts wireless charging with the SuperVOC wireless charger, which I've not got on me to show you, but it just has a fan built into it, and it clips on top of it and looks really good. It looks really cool. So if you can get hold of one, I'd order one at the same time as your phone because I think it's worth having. But you can also get a 100-watt charger from OnePlus, and they'll sell you a 100-watt one, and it's a great charger. But I've got my own anyway, so pick one up from them if you get one. If not, just go on Amazon and pick up a 100-watt charger. Anyone should work. Just make sure you get the right ampage on for the phone. So I've got no problems with battery life, no problems with charge times. They're all flagship level on that side of things. So now let's get into this Oxygen OS and find out what I thought about that. So this phone runs OnePlus's version of Oxygen OS 15, which is based on Android 15. So it's a great operating system. I have no problems whatsoever. So a lot of manufacturers take Android 15 and add bloatware to it, make it worse, and I just gets irritating after a while. But I think OnePlus and I think Honor do this as well, have produced some great software to go on this phone. So the Oxygen software is really good. It's got some great graphics on it. I'll show you some examples of the graphics. It's really smooth moving around. Like, it's just a really good OS, and it's not full of bloatware. It's got a few bits on bobs on it, but nothing massively. So it really feels like a stock version of Android in some ways, with a bit of added graphics in and their own wallpapers. So I think it's great. Like, the software on it is very much a very good version of Android to use, and I would highly recommend using it. They've added some nice features to it, like dark mode and Zen mode, and they've got lots of health features on there now. And just have a play. If you have a play around the phone, get a chance to use it. It's got some really good features on there. I won't go over them all in this review, but it's nice to have those features on the phone, and it's nice to sort of differentiate it over the Pixel phone, for example, that doesn't have it. And you get all the Pixel features on here, so you get all the Google features, most of them anyway. You get all Gemini Assistant on there, all the AI, and Oppo's got its own. So OnePlus has its own AI features built in, which I have tried, and they do work fine. They're not the best on the market, but there's somewhere in between. OnePlus 12 was really bad with AI. This is definitely a step up in terms of its AI performance. Gemini runs fine on it as well, so I'd use Gemini if you can. Let's just briefly talk about connectivity on this phone. So this phone supports Wi-Fi 7. It supports the latest 5G standards, and it's really, really fast. I've connected it to my Wi-Fi 6E network, and I was getting much faster download speeds on this phone compared to my iPhone. Double download speeds on the same Wi-Fi network. So you can see it's got a much newer modem in it, a much better modem in it than the Snapdragon chip. It also supports, obviously, with headphone wise by Bluetooth, latest Bluetooth standards. So you've got lossless audio over Bluetooth via the Snapdragon, which works with my B&O headphones, and that sounds much better than the Apple headphones, because they don't support lossless over Bluetooth. I know it's not true lossless, but it does work really well, and it honestly improves the sound quality. The OnePlus buds also support lossless, and they sound great. They're the best sounding earbuds I've tried recently. Compared, even the Soundwear ones, they sound great as well, but these really sound good, especially paired with a OnePlus phone. So I would recommend you try it out. So that's really covers us connectivity wise, and as you can see, the graphics are really nice and smooth here. So let's wrap this up, guys. And in conclusion, I have to say this is a real game changer in the smartphone world. And to answer my initial question, which I asked, is this the phone that changes everything? I think it is. It's definitely one of the phones that changes everything anyway in the beginning of the 2025 smartphone race, because I think Apple are in for a real tough ride this year, because there's been some great Android phones so far, and you're only in January. And the Samsung S25 is not even out yet. So it's really nice to see manufacturers competing with Samsung and Apple, but even beating them in some ways. So it offers exceptional cameras, powerful performance, long-lasting battery, a nice thin, lightweight device, really durable design. So what more do you want? Like, this is, and it only costs. I could pick this up for £700 with a free gift. It's just fantastic. I mean, some people think obviously it's not a cheap phone, but I don't think it's bad value. But people talk about it being a really expensive phone, and actually, it's not. You think about how much you pay for a Samsung S25, how much you pay for an iPhone. They're really expensive phones. You think about how much you pay for that, £700, and it gives you all this performance and all these features, and it's taking photos and 4K 60 HDR that you have to buy a really expensive camera to do all that with. So actually, it's good value, and this a lot of people may not agree with that, but I think it is a good value for money phone, and it produces excellent images, and it's one definitely to recommend on this channel. And it's probably going to contend for my smartphone of the year. I'm going to do the awards at the end of the year, which I'm definitely going to do this year, because I really like it, and I love the design and how it feels in hand. So thank you for watching. I will update the review in a few more weeks' time when I've had more time to play around with it, and I will do a OnePlus 12R review as well later on in the week. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really means a lot. Thank you very much.